All right. Hello, everyone. And today I am joined by the CEO of Wings of Hope, Mr. Bret Heinrich. Mr. Bret, it's fantastic to meet you today. It's an honor to be talking to you.
Thank you so much, Tim. It is my honor, and what a pleasure to be here with you today. Thank you.
Thank you. The pleasure is all ours. So before we get into, the questions, I want you to tell us a bit about yourself and also about the Wings of Hope.
Happy to do so. Wings of Hope is something I love to talk about. So Wings of Hope is a global humanitarian organization that will celebrate its 60th anniversary next year. And in those 60 years, we've worked in about 50 countries around the world to provide hope and healing to those who are hurting the most. We use aircraft to literally save and change lives by flying into very remote communities to provide access to a better life, to healthcare, to clean water, food, all of the things that a community needs to thrive. And what we're learning is that the journey has only just begun. The need is great. We find that more and more with food is becoming a greater insecurity for many, many people around the world. Access to healthcare is a constant need. And so we are interested in mobilizing partners to help us reach people all around the world to really have an impact on their lives. Wings of Hope began in the early 1960s when there was a group of Catholic nuns flying an aircraft in Kenya. And this is an interesting story because the nuns were doing really important work in a very remote part of Kenya called the Turkana region. And it was a desert condition, and so the sand and the wind was treating their plane very poorly. It was tearing some of the fabric from the wings, in fact. And when the fabric was torn, it exposed the glue on the underside of the fabric. And at night, because that glue was exposed, when the nuns would go to sleep, hyenas would come out and start to lick that glue and eat the nuns' airplane. The hyenas were literally eating the nuns' airplane. And so 4 businessmen in St. Louis heard about this and said, we have to help the nuns. And so they raised the money, they purchased an aluminum aircraft and sent it to Kenya. And that became the very first Wings of Hope aircraft in 1963. So I always say we owe our humble beginnings to the nuns and the hyenas. And since that time, we've been very blessed to have the opportunity to work with just fantastic partners and help fantastic people around the world. What we are most interested in is seeing declines in health risks. So for example, in the African country of Tanzania, we fly into 27 indigenous Maasai settlements and visit each settlement every 2 weeks. And because we're there every 2 weeks, we can monitor changes in health. And so we've seen in all the time we've been there, about 20 years, infant mortality rates have dropped significantly. And that's really the change we're after, is to see people living longer. If they have the basic building blocks of clean water, access to food, access to health, then the communities can really start to thrive and develop. And so that's our goal. And it's those kinds of changes that have led us to be nominated twice for the Nobel Peace Prize and why we continue to strive to do what we do today and make measurable change in the lives of people.
Wow. That's great. Before going into more about the Wings of Hope, I want to ask you a bit about yourself as well. We read on the press release that you are quite the multi-talented man. Not only are you the CEO of Wings of Hope, you are also a ordained minister, I believe.
Yes, sir.
Also a teacher.
Yes, sir.
Wow. Wow. Can you tell me a bit about that? How it's how you manage to juggle so many like aspects of life so well?
Happy to do that. And one of the things about the nonprofit sector in the United States is that it's still a relatively new sector in terms of formal education. When I was growing up in the 1980s and 1990s, there really were no advanced degrees in nonprofit study. You stumbled into the nonprofit sector from business or education or some other part of society. But today, there are students who are choosing to get a master's degree in nonprofit management and nonprofit leadership. So I'm so encouraged to see this because I believe it'll transform our sector. And as a result of these degrees being available, one way that I feel I can give back to the next generation of nonprofit leaders is by teaching. And so I teach at Washington University in St. Louis, Webster University in St. Louis, and then I'm also a faculty member at Southern University in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. And it's so rewarding to be able to work with students and see the knowledge that they gain and harness the passion that they have to make a difference in the lives of others. I teach on occasion. My main work is focused at Wings of Hope. And similarly, as a minister, I don't minister actively every week at a church. Wings of Hope is my main ministry, but I also do on the side weddings, baptisms, special events such as that, and that's just a real opportunity for me to have another way to give back.
Wow, well, that's fantastic, and I think that I think we've all been with Oris for a while, and I think you're one of the very first teachers to ever have their own watch. So is that like, a proud thing for you? Just walk into classroom with your watch, like, this is mine.
Absolutely. When that happens, I'm going to be it'll be a very proud moment for me too. And it's a great teaching moment to tell students about how a major worldwide watchmaking company with a stellar reputation and a nonprofit organization can come together for good.
Yeah, and like I'm definitely happy for you in that aspect as well. So going more into the Wings of Hope, might I ask, what are the challenges that the Wings of Hope have faced in your mission so far?
Yeah, that's a great question. What challenges have we faced? COVID was certainly a challenge for Wings of Hope, as it was for really everyone. And one thing we learned during COVID was there are times that we need to find ways to help people, even when our planes can't be in the communities. As you can imagine, for example, in Ecuador, we fly into 150 different airstrips throughout the Amazon rainforest, but we couldn't fly at all during the height of the pandemic because it would have been devastating to the indigenous people if we brought the virus in with us. It could have wiped out many, many lives. And so it made me think, and our team think about, well, what can we do? And so as a result of that, one of the things we're going to do is develop and test a drone program in Ecuador, where we'll be able to send medicine and particularly anti-venom into the rainforest, even when we can't fly our planes in. In Ecuador, it's not a matter of if it's going to rain today, but when will it rain today? And so many times when it rains, it makes flying impossible. And so by using a drone, we can send medicine in anytime, 24 hours a day. In one of the major regions of the rainforest that we serve, it's called the Pastaza region. And each year there are approximately 80 to 100 venomous snake bites. And so if we're unable to reach into the rainforest, chances are that it's very likely that person will die. And so by extending our way to reach people with drones, we feel very, very good about being able to save more lives. The other thing that COVID taught us in terms of challenges is that in some cases, we can't come back to a community as frequently as we do in Tanzania. I mentioned Tanzania, we visit every community every 2 weeks, and that's really great because we can focus on prevention. But that's not always the case. Sometimes we'll fly in 14 airplanes into a community and conduct surgical theater over 72 hours, but then we may not go back to that community for a year. So people continue to die and people continue to get sick when we can't be there. So what we're going to do to help address that is create what we call a digital runway. We're going to work very hard to create a telehealth system in some of these very remote villages. So after we leave, we can continue to monitor patients remotely. We can continue to stay in touch with the community and place trained specialists in contact with the local healthcare workers to coach them, to encourage them, and to provide guidance firsthand. So the digital runway drones are two new opportunities that really came to light for us as a result of the challenges of COVID. Other challenges we face include really to be successful, we must have a relationship of trust with certainly the people in the communities that we're serving and also the government of the country. Because the government really will be helpful in terms of sustaining the program over time. And so we work very hard to select partners in all of our countries that have trust both with the people they serve and with the government. And when we're able to do that, usually that's a pretty good recipe for success.
Wow, that's a very great story. Thank you for that. And are there currently any countries that you wish to establish more partnerships or offer help to?
Thailand. No, I say that to be funny, but I would love to expand our role throughout Asia. And right now we provide services in Cambodia, in Papua New Guinea, but there's a great opportunity for us to, traditionally Wings of Hope has been focused in Latin America, in Africa, and I believe there's so many more people that can use assistance, certainly throughout Asia, and we must expand our footprint in Africa as well. We're in Zambia and Tanzania right now, but there's such a great need there. And then we've just opened a field base in South Africa where we'll be spending time serving people in South Africa and southern Mozambique. So yes, throughout Africa is a priority, and certainly expanding our range in Asia.
That's fantastic. And, definitely, have you ever been to Thailand?
I have not, but it is on my list. I am so impressed with Thailand and just the wonderful warmth of your country is amazing, and I so look forward to being able to visit someday.
Oh yeah, definitely. It's warm, literally and figuratively. Yeah, I think that we can definitely show you around whenever that you decide to come here. Just to definitely give us a shout, and we'll sort something out, and make things work. But it's great that you do want to expand to Thailand. So
Yes.
that's fantastic. So other than that, for you, what mission or event was the catalyst for Wings of Hope to receive 2 Nobel Peace Prizes?
It started really with our work in Africa, and as we expanded our role just from that initial site in Kenya to the Congo, to Tanzania, to Zambia, we began to see more and more success. And as a result of that, we were very humbled to be nominated, certainly the first time for the Nobel Peace Prize, and then as a follow-up the second time. And so just to be nominated is a great honor. I believe that one day the third time will be the charm, and we'll be awarded the prize.
Yeah, we will definitely be rooting for you in the third time. So as CEO, what do you think is the most important aspect for the Wings of Hope to continue operating sustainably?
One of the great gifts Wings of Hope has that has been so important throughout our history in terms of sustainability is our volunteer base. My entire paid staff is 18 people, but we have 300 tremendous volunteers, many people who've retired from careers in the military or commercial aviation. All of our pilots are volunteers, our medics, many people who are engineers who've retired from companies like Boeing come and assist our paid mechanics to carry out our work. Our entire purchasing department is all volunteer. So we really couldn't do what we do without our volunteers. And because they give us such a gift of their time, it allows us to keep our operating costs very low and put most of the donated money that comes to Wings of Hope right back into our programs and services, which is something we are very grateful to be able to do.
That's fantastic. And do you have any preferences when it comes to choosing your partners or your volunteers?
Yeah, so our volunteers, my philosophy is if you have a heart for our mission, we'll find a way to use you. We will understand what skills you have and match up your desires with our needs. We intentionally call our volunteer recruitment department volunteer fulfillment, and that has 2 meanings for us. The volunteers help us fulfill our mission, but we also hope to bring some fulfillment in their life by giving them an opportunity to contribute in a way that they love and use their skills. We've also learned to listen very carefully to what our volunteers say to us. One time there was a highly ranked executive from who spent his career in human resources, and he retired and came to Wings of Hope and said, "I'd like to volunteer with you." And we said, "Oh, good, we'll use you in our administrative office." And he said, No, I've done that my whole life. I want to have a broom and sweep the hangar floor. And so we've learned to listen carefully to what our people want to do and how they want to use their skills to contribute. One of the things that makes it so special, Tim, in working with our volunteers, in the early 1960s, at the time John Kennedy was president in the United States, and he was touring NASA, and he was going around introducing himself to all the engineers and asking what their role was with NASA. And finally, at the end of the day, he walked up to the janitor in the hallway and said, "Hi, I'm John Kennedy. What do you do here?" And the janitor put his broom down and said, "Well, Mr. President, I'm here to put a man on the moon." And that singular focus, that even the janitor viewed his role as contributing to putting a man on the moon. That's what excites me so much about our volunteers at Wings of Hope. Every time we turn a wrench on an airplane or sweep the hangar floor or purchase a plane part, we know that that action is going to help save a life of someone we may never meet, someone we may never see, but we're focused on saving and changing lives through the power of aviation. And it's a great honor to lead that group of dedicated people every day.
Amazing, amazing. And in the past few years, as you have already touched on, I think the whole human race has been faced with a lot of uncertainties from the pandemic, and of course, to right now, rising gas prices. How have you been able to weather the storm and just, continue thriving aside from what you've already done?
That's a great question. And certainly Wings of Hope has not been without its challenges. One, when you think about how Wings of Hope receives its funding to carry out our mission, you can kind of think about it in a couple of different ways funds come into the organization. People make donations, either individuals or foundations or corporations, and that's sort of one piece of funding. We also have events, a major gala every year, a big party where people come together and donate, and some other small events. So events is another piece of funding. But then the third piece of funding, people will donate airplanes to Wings of Hope for us to use in our mission. And when they do that, it's such a great gift to us. And our first priority is to place them into service. But if we can't do that, then we sell them for program revenue. So one of the challenges we've seen is, as a result of the pandemic and this changing economy, the value of airplanes has risen significantly. And so fewer people are donating their airplanes. They're holding on to them or they're selling them rather than donate. So one of our strategic goals is to diversify our revenue and find new ways to replace that lost revenue that's not coming in through aircraft donations. So that's certainly a challenge that COVID and this changing economy.
Oh, that's very good. That's very good. And before this collaboration, did you know about ORIS?
I was aware of ORIS and the wonderful work and tradition that ORIS has in the watchmaking community. And so that made the opportunity to work with ORIS all the more special personally for me, because I was aware of what a fine company it was. And so when VJ Geronimo in the United States called, it was certainly a pleasure to take that call and develop a relationship with BJ and the entire ORIS team.
That's fantastic. And as for the design process of this watch, how much insight did you have into the making of this watch from scratch until obviously what we have now, which is the complete watch?
It was such a joy to be part of the design process, and ORIS involved Wings of Hope in every step, from the very early conversations we had with Vijay and his team, with myself and our board chairman, who is a pilot, right down to the pretty detailed interviews we did with our broader group of pilots in Wings of Hope. And we would send frequently pictures and stories and images to Switzerland to give the designers a real understanding of the flavor and the culture of Wings of Hope and some of the places we've worked in and some of the things that have made us unique. And as a result of that, I just am so impressed with the elegance of the timepiece. It captures well in its simplicity, the efficiency of an organization to work with volunteers and partners around the world laser focused to save and change lives. So ORIS is a great partner, and I felt that they truly listened. You all truly listened to us and took our input.
I mean, that's fantastic, and congratulations on the watch. It's a beautiful watch. Other than that, I think one of my team really wants to know: have you ever flown on a Wings of Hope mission yourself, or do you know how to fly a plane by yourself?
Well, I'm not a pilot, but I surround myself with really good pilots. And interestingly, my two predecessors at Wings of Hope were pilots. They were both in the field of aviation. But I believe Wings of Hope, when this position became open, the organization, the board of directors said, we don't need another pilot. We need someone who comes from the nonprofit sector to really fully develop the organization in that regard. And so I was so delighted and honored to be able to compete and eventually be offered this position. But I will say I have flown on our missions, both in the United States, where we do about 200 flights a year, and then in our field-based operations. My very first mission was through our medical air transport program in the United States. There was a little one-year-old boy who spilled scalding water all over his body. 60% of his body was horribly burned. And the treatment that he required was in Cincinnati, Ohio, and he's from rural Missouri. So in the United States, that represents quite a distance. That's 400 or 500 miles. And when the very first time the mother drove her boy to Cincinnati so he could begin his treatment, and the hospital said, well, my goodness, Wings of Hope, you should call Wings of Hope. And so we began to fly him many, many times until he was healed. And he was my first flight. And to be able to spend time visiting with the mom and visiting with this very small child and see him over time grow strong again and his scars begin to heal was a really great way for me to first understand the mission of Wings of Hope shortly after I became the president. I also will always cherish a moment in Tanzania. I'd spent the day visiting clinics with our field-based operation in Tanzania. And one of my most cherished moments, we will land the plane and literally conduct the health clinic under the wings of the airplane. And I had the very best job of all. We hung a big round scale underneath the wing of the airplane, and I got to weigh each of the babies and record their weight. So that was special for me. Wow. And on the way home that evening, the pilot said, you know what, would you take the wheel for a moment? And so I was flying a plane at sunset across Tanzania, and I thought, never in my life did I dream I would be flying a plane across Africa when I was a child. So you just never know what blessings life will expose to you.
That's fantastic. And, other than receiving all these generous donations or planes, are there any other fundraising activities that the Wings of Hope use to increase, exposure and spread awareness?
Yes, absolutely. One of the things that we do twice a year is to conduct a raffle, and the winner wins an airplane. So each ticket is $100 US, and we sell only 5,000 tickets. And whoever's ticket is drawn wins the aircraft. It's become pretty well known now, and so we open it up at 6 a.m. Central Time in the United States, and usually, as most people are sitting down for their first cup of coffee at 9 or 10 a.m., the raffle has sold out. So that is a great way for us to generate excitement about our mission and also raise some important money for us to be able to do what we do.
Oh, wow. So the winner basically gets a whole plane.
They get a whole plane ready to fly.
Where can we enter? I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. All right. So can you tell us about any exciting future projects that you currently have in store?
Yeah, absolutely. We're very interested in addressing the United Nations several years ago published a set of 17 sustainable development goals. And the goals that Wings of Hope has really chosen to focus on is certainly access to healthcare, which has been part of our tradition for many years, but also bringing fresh water into communities. It's, Tim, so clearly evident if you visit a community that has fresh water and those that don't have fresh water, you can see a clear difference in the physical health of people. Their skin pallor is very different, how they carry themselves, the life expectancy. All of those things rest on the ability to have access to clean water and have food security. So we're focused on the sustainable health goals around those two areas, around health, around building greater education opportunities among the indigenous groups that we work with. One of the things we've heard from our friends in communities and indigenous communities is we want to be able to live in our communities, we want to stay there, and we want to receive our health care in the communities. For example, in Ecuador, people of the rainforest sometimes think of leaving the rainforest to go to the hospital as a death sentence because they've seen their family members go to the hospital sometimes and not return, and they're very fearful of leaving their communities to receive health care. So we're working very hard with the drones, with the digital health efforts that I described earlier, but also educating healthcare workers in the communities to more accurately diagnose patients, to be able to administer some basic level medicine to at least allow us a time to get further, more extensive treatment either into the community or to bring someone out of the community if they need significant treatment. But we believe all of these steps will allow people to stay in the communities, to take control, take charge of their health, and be able to really grow and thrive. So those are the plans that are out in front of Wings of Hope today, and where we're focusing our efforts.
That's fantastic. And I actually have like a fun little question for you as well. So obviously, excluding this watch, do you have any other favorites that you see in the ORIS catalog currently that you find attractive or that looks nice?
Oh my goodness, so many of them look nice. We had the opportunity to be in Oshkosh, Wisconsin together for it's a big air show in the United States, and that's where VJ Geronimo and I were together with the ORIS Airstream, and the Wings of Hope watch made its debut there. But stepping inside that Airstream and seeing all the beautiful watches was really inspiring. And I really particularly like the watch that was developed in association with Saving the Great Barrier Reef. It's a beautiful design and very colorful. And if I wasn't so attached to the Wings of Hope watch, that would be the next one. Now, I have to also share with you a non-ORIS watch is the watch I'm wearing right now. It's just an old Timex, but it was my dad's last watch that he wore before he passed away. And so the ORIS watch and my dad's watch are my two favorite watches.
I can imagine both hold great sentimental value. And yeah, I think that's a very, very good choice as well, as you said, with the Great Barrier, because it's one of the the most colorful and attractive designs that we've had in recent years. So last but not least, do you have, obviously before I ask this question, I have to preface this by saying that I think on the 3rd of September, we are going to have like something that's similar to a, event. And this event obviously is going to be headlined by your watch, which is the Wings of Hope. So our interview is going to be played on a big screen for a lot of Oris friends and customers and fans to see. So with that being said, do you have anything to say to the Thai fans of the Wings of Hope and Oris in Thailand?
To the people of Thailand, I am so grateful for the opportunity to share the story of Wings of Hope with you. I am a great admirer of your country and your culture. One day I hope to visit, and I just have a tremendous amount of respect for the love and care that you place certainly on your royal family and also on the shared love you have for your people across the country. And one day Wings of Hope hopes to bring our services to your country and save and change lives in partnership with you.
Definitely looking forward to that. And whenever you choose to do that, just give us a shout. We're always here for you. So listen, thank you so much. It's been a fantastic interview, and it's been a fantastic session with you. And as I said at the beginning, it is an honor to speak to you today. And as I said before, it's a great organization, and it's also a very great watch. And thank you so much for taking the time out of your day to give us a fantastic interview and a fantastic insight into the Wings of Hope. Thank you very much.
Completely my honor to be with you today. And I am so grateful to be able to spend this time with you and to share a little bit about our story.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much.